There are some mornings when I'm on the air and I wonder, really, what is the top story that we're going to be talking about today? And so I sat down this morning and I'm looking over a number of things on my list. One of those happens to be, if you didn't hear it yesterday, the story broke that State Attorney General Lawrence Wasden has come to an agreement with an online gambling outfit that says that they will not actually be marketing. That is, Idahoans will not be able to gamble online with this particular site. And then it struck me, maybe I live in a cloistered monastery, but I don't know anybody that gambles. And to be honest with you, I know a handful of people who tell me they go to the casino, they drive across the state line, they drop by there once in a while for a concert or for dinner. But I really don't know anybody who goes over there to roll dice or play cards or bet on the big games on the big screens. It seems to me that that this whole story is how do we put this? A solution in search of a problem. So I discount that story today. And I hate to say that, but I don't think it's the really big story that I'm going to talk about this morning for that very reason. Maybe I'm just running with the wrong people. Well, maybe I'm running with the right people if I don't know any gamblers. Is that a better way to put that? I would hope so. Over the weekend, I was running with some really scurrilous characters, I have to tell you that. But we'll get to that in a few minutes on the program. One of them will be joining me as far as that goes. They were all surprised because I was wearing a suit, and nobody had ever seen me in one of those before, and probably will never see me in one of those again. Well, all right, if I drop dead tomorrow, you will, but that's because, of course, it's black. It's designed for that particular reason. 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. A lot of people bet on sports, and I've never been a big sports bettor at all. I can't say I've been much of a bettor in any situation. Speaking of sports, however, I have this today from the Daily Caller. College football legend Lou Holtz endorses Trump for president. And it says, famed college football coach Lou Holtz wholeheartedly endorsed Donald Trump for president. In a video uploaded to Twitter, Holtz, who led Notre Dame to a national championship in 1988, claims there's nothing but winners in Indiana. Holtz added that he supports Trump because, quote, he's played his golf course and stayed in his hotel, unquote. And he went on to say this, quote, he does nothing but go first class in everything. He wants this country to be first class as well, unquote. So you throw that in there, you've got the two biggest coaching legends in Indiana. Tony Dungy might be number 3, but sort of behind Lou Holtz and Bobby Knight, both endorsing Donald Trump. And one poll gives this to Ted Cruz today. The others pretty much favor Donald Trump. And just a couple of other notes on Trump this morning. President Obama, while giving an interview to a local TV station, I think it was in Omaha, Nebraska. He's very popular, among Nebraskans. Yeah, it's a lot like Idaho, isn't it? President Obama called out Donald Trump on Monday, according to the Washington Examiner, for not being qualified enough to be president. Now, remember, Barack Obama served, a few years in the Illinois State Senate and then 4 years in the U.S. Senate? Or 2 years? 4 years, I guess it was. And then was himself elected president. Prior to that, he walked around the streets of Chicago and taught people how to sign up for welfare. Wesley Pruden, the former editor of the Washington Times, has this today. He says the British, who understand a lot about America but are sometimes as puzzled as everybody else by the colony's robust politics, where the body politic does not always make itself available for needed lubrication. Nearly 500,000 Britons, he points out, signed a petition demanding that Trump be barred from coming to Britain. However, the government called its ambassador home to get further explanations of the Trump phenomenon and to instruct him to return to Washington to start making some connections to the Trump campaign. In other words, Lloyd's of London, where they put odds on various things, not that we're talking about gambling, might be saying that Trump is going to win this election. And in fact, there is now a Rasmussen poll out that says Trump has pulled ahead on the national level of Hillary Rodham Clinton. Then we've got this. This is coming from The Resurgent. That is Eric Erickson's website. Erickson, of course, the man behind Never Trump. And one of his associates, Steve Berman, is saying if tonight's results in Indiana put Trump on nearly certain trajectory to the needed delegates, we could end up with a Republican equivalent of the Manchurian Candidate. So a lot of people still wringing their hands among conservatives. And he says Trump can't run and win with the Republican platform as is. He would have to modify it to tone down the anti-abortion talk and to allow whoever wants to use the ladies' room to use it, and to force bakers to take sensitivity training because he would get along great with gays. And he says, I find it hard to believe that anyone on the left will be fooled, but look at the 34% of Republicans who are fooled or just plain don't care. Then the Wall Street Journal today has this. We'll run through these quickly this morning. The Wall Street Journal has this editorial today, the third-party temptation, and the journalist saying, don't do it. Saying that if anybody thinks they're going to throw up a conservative alternative, they will just simply split the vote. And yes, Hillary Clinton will be president of the United States. I'm telling you right now, ABC, first three letters of your alphabet, stands for anybody but Clinton. We've got to keep that in mind. Speaking of that, Donald Trump making an appearance on the Clinton News Network, CNN as it's called, speaking with what do they call him, little Andrew Cuomo? No, Andrew is the governor of New York. It's his little brother. One of the other Cuomo Juniors who was hosting a program there, well, because his dad was somebody famous. Listen to what Mr. Trump says.
You also said something that I thought was curious to Fox yesterday. You said, I think Hillary Clinton saying that to me or about me is inappropriate. How can you find her saying that inappropriate, but saying that China's raping the U.S. is, that's appropriate for you to say, that she's playing the woman card, that's appropriate for you to say, but her saying she knows how to deal with men who go off the reservation, that's inappropriate? How do you see that?
Well, she has been taking a lot of heat for that statement, not from you, obviously, but, they do call it the Clinton Network. But she has taken from others a lot of heat having to do with that statement. And I think it's a very harsh statement. It's basically like, I can handle men. Don't worry about me. I can handle men. If somebody said that, if I made that statement about women, there'd be front page headlines.
Yeah, you basically
did. The way she talks about, I can handle men.
You basically did. You said all she's got is that she's a woman.
Statement. Now, I won't even bring up the fact that the Indians have gone wild on that statement. You know that, okay?
Now, is little Cuomo there to argue or actually report? There's a question for you. Clinton News Network says it is not an opinion network like Fox or MSDNC, but yet the little communist, he is there to lobby for Hillary Clinton. And when he says, but you called the Chinese rapists, oh! Trump was talking about the economy and how China takes all of our business, manipulates its currency, and is killing us economically. What else would you have him use? Yeah, but you'll make the Chinese cry, and we can't have that. Well, one communist to another communist. I guess you have to defend them. And then this from Brett Stevens at the Wall Street Journal. He says the GOP gets what it deserves. I will not read it to you, but I'll give you the gist of it. He says that going back to the Tea Party, the rise of the Tea Party nearly a decade ago, that the Republican Party has been moving more and more and more in a populist direction, and by doing so, he says it has led us to where we are today with Donald Trump. And, of course, the Wall Street Journal, which believes in power from a few on Wall Street in particular, doesn't like the idea that the rest of us are exercising our vote. 8:14, you're up next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on KLIX.
Yes, if you take scrap metal into, like, for instance, a local recycler who also sells steel, and something like over here in Burley where I live, it's pretty vital because you got to do something with this stuff, and then you also have to have a place to buy your steel. And because China is dumping steel on the market, that they are you can go in and take 300 pounds of metal into the recycler, and they hand you an $8, $8 or $5. And I says, what the hell is the deal? Well, China's dumping metal on the market, and they're just, manipulating it, or they have too much. And you see, this is just one of the things. And one of these companies over here in Burley, if I'm not mistaken, is closing because of this. And there's people down there, 5 or 10 people, they're going to lose their job. Now, see, where are they going to go? And what is going to happen? So when we call China out on their BS, thank God somebody thinks about us a little bit. So that's my comment, Bill. I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you much for the call, sir. We have another caller joining us. You're up next. You're on KLIX at 8:16. Pretty close. You were almost there. Well, the price of metal has dropped so far now that farmers along the Mexican border, at least, are breathing a sigh of relief because nobody's stealing the stuff anymore. I've been reading about that in the Imperial Valley of California. Victor Davis Hanson, the historian from Stanford University, grew up there and says because of its proximity to the border for several years, Farmers would get up in the morning and they'd go outside. They'd have no copper. Plows would be gone. Anything metal would be picked up and missing because it was all being grabbed and sent to a recycling center and off to China. But at the moment, at least, you have a respite. I know that's not much of a consolation. You're next. You're on the air with Bill Colley on Top Story.
Good morning, Bill. Bill, this weekend, all these celebrities, the do-gooders and all that, they paid tribute to Obama and honored him over and over again. But Obama has released hundreds, if not thousands of prisoners that have gone to college of crime. When these guys are released, they're educated in how to break into cars on the homes, how to fight the legal system. It'll take one of the elites, a child or relative, to get killed before they do anything. Murders in Chicago has doubled in just 1 year, and these people are ignoring it.
And I'll add to that, thank you for the call, I'll add to that, nearly 20,000 illegal aliens released last year by the Obama Justice Department from jails and prisons across the country. 200 of them went on to commit homicides. Now, once more, if a young man walks into a school in Newtown, Connecticut, and he shoots 20 people dead, we call it a tragedy and say one death is too many. If you release a convict from a jail who's an illegal immigrant, and he goes out and he shoots some young woman down while she's walking along a boardwalk in San Francisco, that's okay, because we wouldn't want to hurt his feelings by sending him home, where he might have to deal with an even harsher form of justice. Bill Colley with you this morning on Top Story on News Radio 1310. The world is screwed up, man, and Donald Trump at least has drawn our attention to that like no one else has. And if some of those other Republicans who were on that stage in the beginning when we had 17, if they had been willing to come out of the box that was prepared for them by their consultants and addressed some of these things, they might still be standing. But on the other hand, they all chose to go the route that the folks told them to do. Don't say this, apologize for that. I'm sick to death of apologies. I want action. Steve Millington will be joining us in just a moment. He is the chairman of the Twin Falls County Republican Party. Spend some time with us on Tuesday morning, delving into all of these things. We'll talk a little Indiana. Also today, one of the liberal publications, I saw this at Real Clear Politics, says that the Republican Party of all places in Idaho is splintered. I think that's news to me, and it might be news to him as well, but we'll get to that in just a few minutes right here on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. 49 already. Benito says we're on our way into the lower 80s.